Good morning, all. So, last class we have discussed regarding this dynamometer. Okay. So, we have already started this part in our last class. So, here, why we are using this dynamometer? This dynamometer we are using to calculate brake power. To calculate brake power of the engine, we are using this dynamometer. So this is an example of dynamometer, what you can see here. Okay, so it is a device which is used to measure the torque as well as rotational speed of an engine. Because what is the formula of brake power? So brake power formula is 2 pi NT divided by 60,000. This is the formula to calculate brake power. So here only two variables are there, that is capital N, speed of the engine, and torque. If we can calculate speed of the engine and torque of the engine, then we can calculate brake power. So that's why we are using this dynamometer. It is a device which is used to measure the torque and rotational speed. Okay, so torque is capital T, rotational speed is capital N. These two values it will measure, and hence we can calculate the brake power of the engine by using this dynamometer. So two types of dynamometer we have discussed in our last class already. First type is absorption type dynamometer because it will absorb the engine power. Second one is transmission type dynamometer because it will transmit the engine power from one engine to other one. Okay, so this is regarding the dynamometers. Next, we have discussed regarding this absorption type dynamometer. In absorption type dynamometer, what we have discussed here. Okay, so these are connected with the engine output shaft. These dynamometers are connected with engine output shaft. Okay, so these dynamometers are connected with the output shaft of the engine. So this is the dynamometer. So this part of the dynamometer will connected with the engine output shaft. They absorb the engine power by frictional resistance. Okay, so that's why the name is absorption type dynamometer because they will absorb the engine power. And some examples of absorption type dynamometer is Crony brake dynamometer, rope brake dynamometer, and hydraulic dynamometer. So out of these three parts, in our last class, we have already discussed regarding this Crony brake dynamometer. Today, we will discuss regarding rope brake and hydraulic dynamometer. So out of these two, this Crony brake dynamometer, it is important, and this rope brake dynamometer also it is important. These two are important. I will show you the previous year question at the end of the session. So once again, quickly we will discuss regarding part we have done in Crony brake dynamometer. And coming to the transmission type dynamometer. So in transmission type dynamometer, what it will do? The power developed, whatever the power will develop by the main engine, it will transmit it through this dynamometer to some other machine where the power is suitably utilized. This means one end of this dynamometer is connected with the engine cylinder and the other end of the dynamometer is connected with some other device. So what this dynamometer will do, from the main engine, it will absorb the power, then that power it will transmit from the main engine to the other machine, and here we will measure the power. Okay, so since this dynamometer will transmit the power from one engine to other engine or from one engine to other machine, so that's why the name is transmission type dynamometer because it will transmit the power from one machine to other one. So some examples of transmission type dynamometer is belt transmission dynamometer, epicyclic dynamometer, and torsion dynamometer. So these are some category or classification of dynamometer that we have discussed in our last class. And regarding this Kronig brake dynamometer also, we have discussed in the last class. So what we have done here in Kronig brake dynamometer, so in the exam, they will ask some 5 marks question. 5 marks question they will ask based upon this Kronig brake dynamometer. Okay. So here what they will ask is, so this is a schematic diagram of a Kronig brake dynamometer. You can see here. So it is the simplest form of absorption type dynamometer. So it is nothing but a absorption. It is a classification. This Kronig brake dynamometer is a classification of absorption type dynamometer. It works on the principle of converting power into heat. Okay. Because this dynamometer will collect the power, or it will absorb the power from the main engine, and it will convert that power into heat energy by friction. You know, when there will be friction, then always some heat energy will generate. So it will convert the power of the engine into heat. So coming to the construction, it consists of 2 wooden blocks. Okay, so you can see this is one wooden block. This is lower end. This is the second wooden block. Okay. This complete one. This is one wooden block, and here this is second wooden block, which are fixed together on a revolving flywheel. So this is the flywheel, this rotating part. So this part will rotate because this part will connected with engine cylinder. So when the engine cylinder will rotate, this part will also rotate. This is nothing but flywheel. So these wooden blocks are connected with this revolving flywheel. This flywheel is attached with the engine whose power is to be measured. This flywheel is connected with the engine cylinder whose power we have to measure. The upper wooden block has a long lever attached to it. Okay, so this is the upper wooden block. So here you can see here one lever is there. This is the lever. This is nothing but lever. Or you can call it as torque arm. Both are correct. You can call this one as lever, or you can call this as torque arm. Okay, with the upper wooden block, this is the upper wooden block. Here, this lever is connected, which carries a weight capital W at its outer end. Okay, so this lever will carry a weight capital W. Here one weight is there, that capital W will carry at the outer end. The weight W is adjusted in such a way that for desired speed of the engine, the lever remains in horizontal position. Okay. Our aim is we have to always make this lever in horizontal position. What happens when the speed of the engine will increase? Then this lever may comes down. Okay. So in that case, we have to release some weight so that this lever will come to its original position. When the engine speed will decrease, the lever may go off. So in that case, we have to add some weight over here so that this lever can maintain its horizontal position. So this also we have discussed in the last class. Now coming to the formula, how to calculate the brake power, that is 2 pi nt by 60,000. Okay. And what is this 2 pi nt? From where to get this n value? So here with this flywheel, we are using a tachometer. We are using a tachometer. Okay. So this tachometer we are pointing over here. So from here we are getting the speed of the engine. The speed of the engine we can calculate from this because this flywheel will rotate. When the engine will rotate, this flywheel will also rotate. And by using the tachometer, we can measure the speed of the engine. So n value we got. Next is we have to calculate torque. So how to calculate torque? We know torque is nothing but force into radius. Okay. And how to calculate this force? So from this weight. What is this weight? This weight is nothing but m into g. Okay, W equal to m into g. M is nothing but mass of the weight, and g is acceleration due to gravity. We know the mass. If we multiply g with it, we will get the weight in Newton. What is this radius? This length from here to here. This length is called as brake drum radius. Okay. This radius we will measure by using a tape. Okay. And this weight we can measure. So if we multiply these two, we can calculate the value of torque. And once, so from tachometer, from here we got the value of the speed, and from here, from this weight, we got the value of torque. So brake power, we can calculate Ep equal to 2 pi Nt divided by 60,000. So from here, we can calculate the brake power. So N value, this N value you put over here, torque value you put over here, multiply this, we can calculate brake power in kilowatts. So this is how the Prony brake dynamometer will work. Speed of the engine already we have discussed, and capital T is torque of the engine. So capital T is force into drum radius, that is 8 into 1. So all these things we have discussed in our last class regarding this Prony brake dynamometer. So if they are asking questions regarding Prony brake dynamometer, you have to draw the diagram. This diagram you have to draw, and some 4 or 5 points you have to write regarding the diagram, and this formula you have to mention. Okay. Now we will come to the next type of dynamometer, because I have told you absorption type dynamometer is 3 types: Prony brake, next one is rope brake, and hydraulic dynamometer. So we have already discussed regarding this Prony brake. Last class we have discussed. Today once again we have revised regarding Prony brake dynamometer. Next we are going to discuss regarding this rope brake dynamometer. Okay. So quickly we will do it. Regarding this rope brake dynamometer, just a minute. So now we are going to discuss regarding rope brake dynamometer. Okay, so this is how a rope brake dynamometer looks like. So this dynamometer is there in our lab. When you will come to college, I will show you this lab, this type of dynamometer. Okay. So what happened? We will see some theory part. First point, it is another type of absorption type dynamometer. So this is also category of absorption type dynamometer, which is most commonly used for measuring the brake power of the engine. Because already we know the use of the dynamometer is to calculate the brake power of the engine. So rope brake dynamometer is a type of absorption type dynamometer which is used to measure the brake power of the engine. Okay, simple. Next point. It consists of one two or more ropes wound around the flywheel or rim of a pulley. So which one is flywheel? So this red color part you are watching. Okay. So this part, this is nothing but our flywheel. Okay, this red color part, this is nothing but our flywheel. A rim of a pulley rigidly. So this is the pulley over here. You can see. Okay, here we have a pulley support. Here also we have a pulley support. Okay. And this part is connected with the engine. So here we have attached a motor. Here we have attached a motor, but we can replace this motor with an engine. Okay, so this part will connected with the engine. So that when the engine will rotate or this motor will rotate, this flywheel will also rotate. Okay, and why the name is rope brake dynamometer? Because here you can see some ropes are there. These are the ropes.
Hello.
Okay, here also you can see this part. This is also a rope. We are using some rope. And that's why it is rope brake, because it will be used to calculate the brake power. That's why the name is rope brake dynamometer. Next one. Next part is the upper end of the rope is attached to a spring balance. Okay, so here you can see in this rope, this is the upper end. Here we have the spring balance. So here, this part, here we have spring balance. You do not have to draw this diagram. I will tell you which diagram you have to do. Okay, this part is spring balance. The upper end of this rope is connected with spring balance, while the lower end of the rope is kept in position by applying dead weight. Okay, so here we can assume that it has a dead weight. So the lower end is connected with this dead weight. So here the lower end will be there, and the upper end is connected with the spring balance. Okay. So now this will somehow look like this. If you see, so this diagram you have to plot in the Excel for rope brake dynamometer. Okay. So what is this one? This is the brake drum. So this part is known as the brake drum. And this is the spring balance. Okay, so this one is the rope. This is our rope. Okay, so one end of the rope is connected with the spring balance, and the other end of this rope is connected with a dead weight. Okay, so this is the rope. This is the upper end. It is connected with spring balance, and the lower end it is connected with the dead weight. Okay, so that's what I have written over here in the last point. The upper end of the rope is attached to a spring balance, while the lower end of the rope is kept in position by applying a dead weight. You can see here. So for this rope, the upper end is connected with the spring balance, and the lower end is connected with a dead weight. Okay. So now what we have to do is, so how to calculate the brake power, I will tell you. So what is this W? Okay, so once we will write here, this capital W. This capital W is nothing but weight attached on rope. Okay, this capital W is nothing but weight attached on the rope. So some masses will be there. So how to calculate this weight? So some masses will be there. We know the mass value. If we multiply acceleration due to gravity, small g, then we can measure the weight. So this weight can be calculated as W equal to m into g. Okay. So the unit of this one is in Newton. Okay. So W is okay. Now next is the spring balance. This S you have written. We have written here. So what this S indicates the value here, the indicating value here in the spring balance. So S is nothing but spring balance. So unit of this one is also Newton. Imbalance reading, its unit is also Newton. Okay, so why this spring balance reading is required? Because if you remember in mechanics, in first year mechanics, okay, you might have heard this word tension. If some string is there, then this tension force will comes into picture. Okay, so here what happened? The weight is acting downward. So according to Newton's third law, every action has equal and opposite reaction. So if the weight is acting downward, then an opposite reaction force should be acting upward direction. That upward direction force is called as tension. Okay, so this downward force we can calculate from M into G. From this weight, we can tell what is the downward force. Okay, so this W equal to M into G. Downward force we can calculate. But what about the upward force? Okay, for this upward force, we have attached a spring balance. Here some readings are there. These readings are in Newton. Okay, so the spring balance reading, from the spring balance reading, we can calculate this upward force. Okay, so what is the total force applied? So total force applied equal to capital W minus S. This is the total force applied on this rope. Okay, so downward force is capital W, upward force is we can measure from the spring balance, that is suppose S. Okay, so S is spring balance reading. So total force is downward force minus upward force. Always this W is greater than tension or S. So that's why I have taken W minus S. This is the total force applied in Newton. Now for this brake drum, suppose this radius, this radius is suppose capital R. What is this capital R? So capital R is brake drum radius. Capital R equal to brake drum radius in meter. Okay, so total force, how much we got? Total force we got W minus S Newton. What is the brake drum radius we got? Brake drum radius is nothing but capital R. So can we calculate torque or not? Because everything we have calculated. So torque value, so the torque applied what is the formula? Torque applied is nothing but force into radius. So that implies what is the torque value we got? So what is the force? Force is W minus S into radius is capital R. So this is the torque value we have got. Okay. Now, so this brake drum will rotate in this direction because it will attach with the engine cylinder. Okay. So with the help of tachometer, okay, we can measure the speed of the engine. So the capital N is nothing but speed of the engine in RPM. RPM means revolution per minute. Okay. So we have calculated the torque applied. We know the speed of we can measure the speed of the engine by using this tachometer. So brake power, can calculate brake power PP equal to 2 pi NT divided by 60,000, which is equal to 2 pi N. What is capital T? Capital T value we got W minus S into R. So in place of capital T, I can write W minus S into R volt divided by 60,000 kilowatts. Okay. So in this manner, we can calculate the brake power of the engine. Okay. So this is the calculation part, and this is the theoretical part for rope brake dynamometer. Okay. So rope brake dynamometer, once again quickly we will revise. Rope brake dynamometer, it is nothing but an absorption type dynamometer. Okay. So which is used to measure the brake power of the engine. That is point one, very simple. Next one, it consists of one or more than one ropes, okay, wound around a flywheel. You can see. So this is the flywheel, and these are the ropes. These ropes are wound around the flywheels, and it is rigidly fixed with the shaft of the engine. Okay. So this flywheel is connected with the engine shaft. Here, this flywheel is connected with a motor, but we can replace this motor with a engine shaft. Engine shaft means crankshaft. It will connected with a engine crankshaft. Third point. Okay. Third point, the upper end of the rope is attached to a spring balance. You can see here in the diagram. Okay. So this is the rope we have. This part is the rope. So the upper end of the rope is connected with the spring balance, and lower end of the rope is connected with dead weight. So here we will be having some weight. Then this calculation, this diagram you have to do, and this calculation part you have to indicate. So capital W is weight attached to the rope. So this capital W, and how to measure the value of this weight? W equal to M into G. This much Newton. Second, spring balance. This here in this reading, this will be indicated in Newton. Okay. So whatever the reading you will get from here, from this indicator, that will be in Newton. So the spring balance reading we can get from here in Newton. So total, what is the total force applied? Downward force is W, the upward force is S. Spring balance. So total force is W minus S. We'll assume that the downward force is greater than upward force. Okay, so total force applied is W minus S. Now this capital R is brake drum radius. So this is the brake drum. The radius of this brake drum is capital R. Okay, so capital R is brake drum radius. So radius we got, force we got. So torque applied is force into radius. Force is W minus S, we have written, and radius is capital R. So this is the torque we have calculated from this rope brake dynamometer. Second point, we have to calculate the speed of the engine. So how to calculate speed of the engine? By using tachometer. So in this tachometer, okay, this brake drum will rotate. So by pointing the tachometer over here, we can calculate the speed of the engine in RPM. Now we got the speed, we got the torque applied. So the brake power formula is 2 pi NT divided by 60,000. Okay. So 2 pi N will remain same. And what is this capital T? In place of capital T, we will write W minus S into R. So in place of capital T, I have written W minus S into R divided by 60,000 kilowatt. Okay. So do up to this, you will get full 5 marks. Clear? So one previous year question I will show you quickly, then we will switch over to the next topic. Regarding this rope brake dynamometer, they have asked some question in the previous year. So I will show you the 2019 approach. This is 2019 question paper you have. So here you can see question number 6A. What is question number 6A? Question number 6A is explain rope brake dynamometer to determine the brake power of the engine. 5 marks. Okay, so theoretical question they have asked. Explain rope brake dynamometer to determine the brake power of the engine. Okay. So what you have to write? You have to write like this. Okay. So no need to draw this diagram. You cannot draw this diagram. You write these 3-4 points. You draw this diagram. This diagram you have to do. Okay, and this derivation, this small derivation you have to do. Yeah. Okay. So this is regarding rope brake dynamometer. Now the third type of dynamometer is hydraulic dynamometer. This is the last type of absorption type dynamometer. So this is nothing but hydraulic dynamometer. So this is the diagram of a hydraulic dynamometer. What is there? I will tell you. Normally they didn't ask this question. They didn't ask regarding this hydraulic dynamometer. But in case if they will ask, so you should be prepared. So this first point, hydraulic dynamometer, it is also a type of absorption type dynamometer. Next, it consists of a shaft. So you can see. Okay. So this is one shaft. This is the shaft over here. Okay. So this part is nothing but the shaft. Okay. It consists of a shaft, a rotor. Okay. So these are the rotors. This will rotate. So that's why the name is rotor. Okay. 4 rotors we have. These are the rotors. And starter. So here we will be having, here we are providing a starter also. Water inlet and outlet connection. Okay, so through this pipe, water will enter, and from this pipe, water will goes out. Okay, so these are the different parts of a hydraulic dynamometer. Because the name is hydraulic dynamometer, so that's why we have this water connection. Okay, we have this water connection. That's why the name is hydraulic dynamometer. Okay. Next point. This shaft is rotated by prime mover or main engine whose power is to be measured. Because this is the shaft and this shaft is connected with the engine crank. This shaft is connected with the engine. And when the crankshaft of the engine will rotate, this shaft will also rotate. And from here, we can measure the brake power of the engine. Next point, this shaft is mounted on a grease lubricated ball bearings to reduce mechanical friction. Okay, so here one bearings will be there. Some bearings, some ball bearings will be there. Okay, and why that bearing is required? Bearing is required to reduce the mechanical friction. We are providing some lubrication, some grease we are providing. Okay, in between the bearing and this shaft, we are providing some grease lubrication. Okay, so there the friction will be less, and if friction is less, then heat loss will be also less. To minimize the friction, we are providing some ball bearing with some grease lubrication. Okay. Next point, the rotor is mounted on the shaft with the help of a key joint. Okay. So whatever these rotors are there, these rotors are connected with the help of key joint. So different types of joints are there. You will study in design of machine elements. Okay, design of machine members. The next semester you are going to study this in DMM 1 and DMM 2. One subject is there. Okay, in that you will study regarding different types of joint. Okay, lap joint is there, butt joint is there, riveted joints are there, key joints are there, different types of joints are there. Okay. So after that, one key joint is there. So with the help of this key joint, these rotors are connected with the engine shaft. Starter, last point, the starter and rotor are provided with the semicircular channels and water is supplied to those channels. Okay, so here this is one part of the rotor. Okay, so it is a semicircular one. Okay, so you can see this is also a semicircular one. Okay, so this is some semicircular channels are there to provide the arrangement of this rotor. Okay, and to this channel we are supplying the water supply. Right. So this is the type of hydraulic dynamometer. Normally they didn't ask this question. Okay, but we don't know what they will do. So this diagram you have to draw in the exam, and 3-4 points related to this hydraulic dynamometer you have to mention. So in total, what we have done, we have completed all these 3 types of absorption type dynamometer. We have completed Koni brake dynamometer, rope brake dynamometer, and hydraulic dynamometer. Out of these 3, these 2 are important. Okay, Koni brake dynamometer and rope brake dynamometer. What you have to do if they are asking this as a 5 marks question, you have to draw the diagram. Okay, then some theory parts you have to write, some points theory points you have to write. Okay, and you have to show the derivation. Small derivations are there. That thing you have to show. For example, in rope brake dynamometer, okay, you draw the diagram, some bullet points you write, okay, and you just indicate how to calculate the brake power. Similarly, in case of rope brake dynamometer, okay, in case of rope brake dynamometer, you draw the diagram. This diagram is not required. Okay, you draw this diagram. This diagram you have to plot. Some 2-3 points you have to write, and this derivation you have to show how to calculate the brake power. Okay. And normally they didn't ask regarding this hydraulic dynamometer. Okay, but if in case they will ask, so you just show here the diagram, some points you write, and simply you write down the brake power of the engine equal to 2 pi NC divided by 60,000 kilowatts. That's it. Here derivation is not required. Here, so these are the 3 types of absorption type dynamometer that we have discussed. Next, quickly I will show you the measurement of air consumption, because if we go to the syllabus, right. So if you will see the syllabus here in unit 3, calculate the brake power, how to calculate indicated power, how to calculate frictional power, already we have discussed. Performance test and heat balance sheet also we have discussed. Now we will complete this part. Okay, measurement, how to measure the cylinder pressure, how to measure the fuel consumption, how much amount of fuel is consumed, how to measure that, and how to measure the air intake value. Okay, how much air is entering to the engine cylinder, that we are going to discuss now. So quickly we will do it. It is very simple. Right. So measurement of air consumption. Measurement of air consumption means here basically we have to calculate how much air or how much air is entering to the engine cylinder. That I mean we have to calculate the mass flow rate of air. How much amount of air is entering to the. So this is air box method. Okay. By using air box method, we can calculate. Okay. So by using this air box method, we can calculate the air consumption in IC engine. Okay. So this diagram is nothing but a schematic diagram of air box method. Okay. So what are the parts are there? Air box method consists of air tank. Okay. So here you can see this is the air tank. Here the air, atmospheric air will be stored over here in the air tank. Water manometer. Okay. Here you can see one manometer is there. Okay. To measure the pressure difference. So we have this water manometer over here. Orifice plate. So this plate is nothing but you can see here. This is the orifice plate. I will tell the use of all these things. When we will come to the derivation part, I will tell you the use of all these things. And the thermometer. This thermometer is also connected with this air tank to measure the temperature of the air. Okay. Manometer. What is the use of manometer? Manometer is used to measure the pressure of the air, because this air tank is connected with this engine cylinder through the intake valve or through the intake port. Okay. from this air tank, we are supplying the air to the engine cylinder. So with what pressure, with which pressure we are supplying this air tank, this air to the engine cylinder, that pressure will be measured with the help of this manometer. In fluid mechanics, unit 1 already I think you have studied regarding this manometer. Okay, so how to measure the pressure of using manometer? The pressure value is nothing but rho into G into H. This is the way to measure the pressure. Okay, so what is this rho? Rho is nothing but density of the air. Whatever the air is present inside this tank. Okay, so the density of that air is called as rho. Small g is called acceleration due to gravity. And what is this H? This H is manometer difference, water difference. So in this manometer reading, so in the left limb, this is the water column, or this is the mercury column over here. In the right side hand, this is the mercury column. So this difference is nothing but delta H for the water. Okay, so this H value is nothing but this delta H. In place of this H, this difference you have to put. And if you multiply these three things, we can calculate the pressure of this air. Okay. So already regarding this manometer, I hope you have studied in fluid mechanics, unit 1. Next, orifice is used to measure the flow rate of air. Okay, so by using this orifice, we can measure the discharge. Okay, discharge or flow rate of air. Okay, so discharge means the unit will be meter cube per second. Volume flow rate. Volume flow rate is called as discharge. Okay, the unit is meter cube per second. By using this orifice, we can measure the flow rate of the air. Orifice plate having area capital A and coefficient of discharge CD is connected with the air tank. Okay, because with the help of this orifice, what we have to measure? We have to measure the discharge. And how to measure the discharge? Okay, so discharge, if you want to measure the discharge, which is indicated as Q, it's nothing but area into velocity. Okay, so orifice plate, this orifice plate area we are considering as capital A, and velocity means with which velocity the air is flowing. Okay. So from these two things, we can calculate the discharge from this orifice plate. Okay. So these are the some parts of the air box method. What are the parts? First one is air tank. Here we are going to store the atmospheric air. Okay. Second one, the thermometer. It is used to measure the temperature of this atmospheric air. Here we have a water manometer is there. What is the use of this manometer? This manometer is used to measure the pressure of the incoming air. Whatever the air we are supplying to the engine cylinder, we are measuring the pressure of this air by using this manometer. Okay, and here we will be having a orifice meter, orifice also. Okay, so what is the use of this orifice? Orifice, this one is used to calculate or to measure the discharge rate of the air or the volume flow rate of the air. And how to measure the discharge or volume flow rate? By multiplying area with velocity. The unit here we will get in meter cube per second. Why meter cube per second? Because unit of area is meter square. Unit of velocity is meter per second. Okay, so if we multiply meter square with meter per second, we will get meter cube per second. That is nothing but discharge or volume flow rate. Okay, this area of the orifice plate we know. Velocity we can measure by using the formula capital V equal to square root of 2gh. All these things tomorrow we will discuss in detail. Why this formula I have taken, tomorrow I will discuss. Okay, by multiplying these two things, we can calculate the discharge. Okay. So this is the construction of air box method. Okay, and tomorrow, today already time is over, I think. Yeah, tomorrow we are going to do the calculation to measure the air, how to, from this method, how to measure the mass flow rate of air, because this is our aim. Okay. Our aim is measurement of air consumption. How much air we are supplying to the engine cylinder. That is our aim. We have to calculate this mass flow rate of air, because some problems we have done where you have to calculate the air fuel ratio or fuel air ratio. Okay, we have to calculate this thing. So for this, we have to know, we should know what is the mass flow rate of the fuel and what is the mass flow rate of air. Then only we can calculate this ratio. Okay, to calculate the mass flow rate of air, we are using this air box method. Okay, and the construction today we have discussed regarding the construction. You have to draw this diagram and some 4 or 5 points you have to write regarding this air box method. And tomorrow we are going to discuss by using this air box method how we are calculating the mass flow rate of air. Okay, so this thing tomorrow we will discuss. So today whatever we have discussed, all these things by regarding the dynamometer, regarding the construction of this air box method, all these things I will put in the group after the class. Once you go through it, if you are getting any doubt, feel free to ask me. And tomorrow we are going to start the derivation of mass flow rate by using air box method. Okay. So that's all for today. Once again, we will meet tomorrow. Have a nice day. Be safe. Bye.